So I have just a tiny little bit of pink fondant. I'm gonna roll it in a ball and make a teardrop like that. And then I'm going to flatten one end of it and make a little triangle, because kitties have little triangular noses. So I've just kind of shaped it into a little triangle shape, like that. And I'm gonna take my brush, put a little water where his little nose would be, and I'm gonna attach his little nose on his little face. Turn that around so I can see, yep, looks good. You wanna make sure it's centered. There's his little nose. And now I'm gonna let that dry for a few minutes, because you wanna make sure before you start painting on the eyes, I wanna paint eyeballs on his eyes, but if it's still wet and I try to start painting it, sometimes the brush will move, take the little piece and actually slide it up and down on the face. So you wanna let them actually harden and dry on there before you start painting. So in the meantime, we're gonna give him a nice little collar. So we're gonna take another little bit of white, and I'm gonna make a nice thin strip. And again, let me grab this here, and I'm going to use my fondant smoother to roll out a nice thin even strip. So that is going to be our collar. And so I'm going to take a little bit of white and I'm going to put it around his neck so I can make sure that the fondant attaches like that. And then I'm going to pick it up from end to end, and I'm going to start it in the center because I don't want the where I attach it together in the back. I want that part in the back. So I'm going to bring it around, and then I'm going to cut one end like that, and then bring the other end around and cut the other end like that. So that's where his little collar is. And then because it is a very fancy little kitty, it's gonna need some bling on his collar. So I have some very tiny silver dragées, and I'm gonna take some water and I'm gonna wet my collar kind of all the way around because I want the dragées to stick to the fondant like this. I'm putting it all the way around. And then I'm gonna take dragées and just push them right into the collar, like that. Oops, these are tiny, so they're a little difficult to deal with, but you can just push it on there and then push it in. And we're gonna put those all the way around his collar so he has a little bling. See if I could keep a hold of these. If you have tweezers, you can use those. I find it better to use my hands, but some people swear by tweezers. So I'm gonna go ahead and put all these around, and when I get back, he will be all blinged out, and then we'll go ahead and paint on the rest of his face. All right, so we've got our little kitty's collar done with all the bling with the silver dragées, and now it's time to paint the eyeballs. So to do that, I'm going to use a very, very fine brush, just really, really thin, and I want his eyes to be green, and I'm going to paint his little eyes on there. Now, people eyes have round pupils. Cat eyes have oblong, pointy pupils. So I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to turn it towards me and I'm going to do one so you can, and then you can see the shape. But I like to get, when I do these, I like to get down eye level with it because that's the only way that I can actually get close up and see what I'm doing. And I also like to support my hand with my other hand because if you just try to do this, your hand's kind of floating in the air and it's more difficult. But if you support it with like this and do it right in front of you, you're actually holding your hand steady from one hand to the other. So let me do one and then I'll show you what it looks like and then I'll do the other. So I'm just taking my brush and very gently, delicately painting a green little shape that is going to be his iris. And then I'm going to do the other one.